creamy mushroom pasta. It's really delicious. It's a really easy to make weeknight pasta. It only has a few ingredients and you can whip it up in no time. Let me show you what I'm talking about. For the mushrooms, I'm going to use two types of mushrooms. I've got shiitake mushrooms here. They already came sliced. It's almost impossible to find shiitakes whole around here, so these will do. Just make sure that you go through the little pieces of dirt. Just check the stems. You want to remove those. We'll do that in a minute. Got some white button mushrooms. This is typically more common. I like shiitakes though, so we're going to use both today. For the pasta, I'm going to go with fettuccine. This is the brand that I like to use the most. It's about a quarter pound of dried pasta that I'm going to use for this recipe today. As for the rest of the ingredients, got grated Parmesan cheese. I got some Pecorino Romano. We're going to grate that up. This is the stuff out of the jar. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's not as good as grating it yourself. Just make sure you get the kind that says no cellulose on the label. Got parsley, small yellow onion, I have a couple cloves of garlic, and some fresh thyme. You don't have to have both of the herbs. You can go with one or the other. Use whatever herb you want. Onions are optional in this. And for the rest of the ingredients, we're going to have some olive oil, a little bit of butter, just a little bit of chicken stock. We're going to reduce that slightly. Some heavy cream, salt, and black pepper. So let's get to prepping. For the button mushrooms, feel the ends. If the end of the stem is a little bit hard, just go ahead and take it off, discard that. By the way, I already washed these mushrooms. A lot of times there's dirt on them, so you make sure you clean your mushrooms. Alright, we got everything prepped. When it comes to the cheese, if you're going to have to choose one, go with the Pecorino Romano for this dish. It's much saltier and a more pungent flavor. It's going to come through better with the mushrooms and the cream. You use Parmesan cheese, it's going to get lost a bit. I like to mix them. I'm going to use less of the Parmesan than I am the Romano. We're going to sweat down the onions a bit. Going to add the garlic, the thyme, cook it down, reduce it with some chicken stock, hit it with heavy cream, and you'll see how this goes. Let's get started. Alright, we're going to turn the heat to medium-low. A little olive oil. Alright, We're just going to sweat the onions down just a little bit here. Just turn the heat down a bit. It was a little high. Want to cook this slow, so we don't want to burn the garlic, which actually we're going to add right now. And we'll let this go for a couple minutes. When the garlic starts to turn a little bit brown, you don't want to burn it, so this is when you add your mushrooms. And I know that looks like a lot of mushrooms. They're going to shrink down, they're going to give off their water. We're going to cook the water off before we add more ingredients. It should take maybe 5-7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes tops. All right, you can see that the mushrooms have soaked up the majority of the oil and butter that was in there. It's a little dry when you move it around the pan. You want to resist the urge to add any liquid right now, because they're slowly going to give off water, they're going to shrink. Just leave it be for a while, and it's trapping the steam under there, which is going to speed the process up. If you keep moving them around, there's not going to develop any steam underneath there. You do want to check though, make sure you're not burning anything underneath every now and again. But I got it down about as low as it can go, so we should be fine. All right, now the mushrooms are really starting to give off their water content. When they start to look like this is when we're going to add some seasoning, a little salt and pepper, and the thyme. We're not going to add a lot of salt though. Pecorino Romano is very salty, so we can adjust the salt at the end if we need to. Just a decent pinch, that's it. I like a lot of black pepper, so add as much or as little as you want. And in goes the thyme. Maybe a teaspoon, maybe. Definitely don't want to overdo it on the thyme. You want everything to be balanced, so. All right, now we're going to add our chicken stock. Not a lot here. This is a little bit more than a half cup, I believe. So we're going to reduce that down a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit on there. Now that the liquid's in, you can cook on a little bit higher heat. We're going to reduce that maybe about halfway, which should start to thicken up slightly. All right, that is pretty reduced, even a little bit more than half. But I'm looking for almost like a saucy consistency to it, for lack of a better term. So, all right, now it's time to add the cream. I got a half cup. I'm not sure it needs the whole half cup. We're going to start with most of it. We'll see. So now that the cream's in, we're going to let it reduce a little bit more. I can always add more cream to thin it out, but also don't forget, at the end we have the pasta water. So if we end up making it too thick once we add the cheese and everything, we can always thin it out at the end with the pasta water. Alright, I'm going to turn the heat to as low as it can go. It should be slightly thicker than it was. Alright. See how it doesn't come right back on itself right away? Alright. First I'm going to add a bit of Parmesan cheese. This is a little bit more than a quarter cup. I'm not going to add the whole thing. So I would say just a couple teaspoons. Maybe a tablespoon and a half there. Not a couple teaspoons, maybe a tablespoon and a half. And now I'll go in with the Romano. If you have any chunks of Romano, you want to take those out. Or not, who cares? Okay, another thing. If you're working in a stainless steel pan, something that's not non-stick, take the spatula. Obviously, we're not going to whisk here. There's not enough liquid in there to use a whisk, and you get all the chunks of mushroom. So you take a spatula, and you just want to go in little circles around the bottom of the pan as you're stirring the sauce continuously, so that any of the cheese bits that want to get stuck to the bottom, it comes right up back into the sauce, because if the cheese bits stay on the bottom, they're just going to burn. You want to incorporate them into the sauce. So, and I think I am going to hit this with a little pasta water. I could add more cream, but it's pretty rich. I tasted it. It tastes really good. I think it might need a little pepper though. No, you know what? It's fine just the way it is. So I just killed the heat on this. Let's talk about the pasta here. Because the fettuccine is in nests like this, I can use a smaller pot, which is a good thing. Because there's a common misconception when it comes to boiling pasta. I used to hear growing up all my life that you need a great big pot of water to boil the pasta. It helps it cook better. First off, it doesn't. Second off, you want to use the pasta water in there, which means there's starch in the water. So if you use a great big amount of water, a little bit of pasta, you're not going to have enough starch content to do anything to the pasta. So I'm going to be cooking this pasta in a little pot like this. That way it hangs on to all the starch. And the amount of time to cook the pasta for, I always undercook it. You can finish it in the pan. This, I didn't even read the package, but I've used this before. I generally give it 5 to 6 minutes. I've even done 4 minutes sometimes, depending on how hard the water's boiling. Cook it at a low boil. You don't want it rolling. I salted the water slightly, because remember, this is pretty salty, so we don't need to season this too much. So I'm going to boil this maybe 5 minutes, finish it off in the sauce, add a little bit of the water as I'm doing that. We'll hit it with the parsley and we're good to go. Here we go. I got the pasta in the water. I'm going to give it a stir in a minute as soon as the nests start to loosen and break up. About 5 minutes, we're going to finish this off. Alright, my timer just went off for the pasta. It's been 5 minutes. It's a little bit less than al dente, which is perfect. So, now to add the pasta water, you don't even need to ladle it necessarily. You might need to, but just by picking the pasta up and letting the water fall into there, it should work. Let me turn the heat back on this. We'll finish it off in the sauce. Don't work the noodles too hard, very, very gently. It's best to toss them. Might not want to toss right at first. You kind of got to coax it a little bit sometimes. I am going to add just a touch of water though. Not a lot. Because we're going to finish it off with a little bit more of the pecorino romano. There we go. That's looking better. And the parsley. All right, this looks really, really good. It smells amazing. Good thing I got this done in time too. It's starting to storm outside and the thunder's about to mess with the audio. So let's give this a try here. So we should get some mushrooms. Not going to do it. I'm not going to burn my mouth. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off there, but I'll let it cool a minute. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I know, eating out of the pan, right? Well, it's for me, so cooking for one tonight. All right, everybody, well, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a really easy weeknight pasta to make. It's simple, not too many ingredients. You could go crazy and add a bunch of stuff if you want, bacon, whatever. You can even go simpler than this. Leave the chicken stock out, only one cheese. You know, however you want. The choice is always yours. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Give this video a like. Leave a comment in the box down below. Remember, you can watch my content on YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble. And until next time, guys, make sure to treat yourself right, cook yourself something good.